Thank you everyone for joining us. I can see we already have people aboard. Bernadette, you're very welcome. I see your window is here. Emma, Janet, Judinguru, Cameline Okello, we are so excited to have you. We are just preparing to begin in a few. So relax. Maybe you want to have a notebook and a pen to take down something that you might pick from the conversation. Very exciting. You never attend these webinars and leave the same way. So you would want to have somewhere to at least put down something. And Mr. Doso Radido, we can also see you there. Thank you for joining. Should be started in a few. I know most of us, we are from work. Maybe you need a glass of water. Just cool yourself down, relax, get your writing materials ready. In the next few minutes, we should be moving. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Your presence is appreciated. Yes, or a glass of wine, so says Elsie. Elsie, it looks like something is happening on the background. Since we cannot see you on video, probably there's a glass of wine somewhere around, but that's okay. Okay, so it's a beautiful day. It has been a beautiful day. I hope it has been the same on your end. I am so excited, so honored to be hosting you all today for this pre-launch webinar for the book, We Took the Risk. We Took the Risk is an anthology done by several women, 13 of them to be precise, talking about the value of risk-taking and why women should embrace it as a strategy for growth and success. So the theme of the book talks about strategy for growth and success. So this webinar is brought to us by Zion Pulp Publishers, a publishing firm, which is also the one behind this project under the She Leads project. We are honored today, together with us, to have two of the co-authors of the book, We Took the Risk, and also together with us is the founder and the CEO of Zion. This project touching on women and women's leadership. Before we proceed, I would like us to begin with a word of prayer. Then I'll bring Mr. Doso to say something even as we begin our conversations today. So let us believe and pray. Father, we are grateful in the name of Jesus about this subject of the day. We surrender to you for leadership and guidance. And Father, we know that out of these conversations, someone will find an answer to their question, that someone will find a solution. Say amen. Amen. So allow me again kusema karibu sana, and just to remind us again that this webinar is brought to us by Zion Publishers under the directorship of Mr. Radido Doso, and he is together with us. Before we proceed into the depth of our conversation, I will allow him to say something. Mr. Doso, karibu.
Oh, thank you so very much, Dottie. Please let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Well, I'm so honored to be here today, and I'm glad that finally we get an opportunity to begin to do the conversation. And beyond that, I am happy that the ladies have made it to the session experiences. One of the things that I've been talking about lately is, of course, the subject of risk and women. The only disadvantage I have when it comes to this is I actually cannot be able to speak from experience because I have the disadvantage of not being a woman. Otherwise, I would really have loved to speak about this from a woman's perspective, but I will speak about it from an external observer of women. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this subject, as you have correctly said, is because from my observation, looking at the challenges that women face, either in career or in life or wherever area they find themselves, there seem to be two forces that contribute to the challenges that women face. We have external forces, and then we have internal forces. External forces are things like culture, the influence of the external environment, and all these things that are happening on the outside. Most of which have been talked about as being the forces that are, responsible for many of the challenges that women face. So in the project that we did that is called How We Rise, we identified some of those problems and we talked about them. The glass ceilings, the sticky floors, the leaky pipes, and all those other things. There are more than 21 of them. Those are so many. We also must take cognizance of the fact that some of the challenges that women face are coming from inside of them. Those are internal forces. I like calling them like that. The question of drive, the question of fear, the question of imposter and discounting yourself. Of course, the question of competence and incompetence, the question of skillfulness in deploying yourself around certain environments or certain opportunities. And of course, the question of being able to... Please let me know if you can hear me. Hello.
We can hear you. It's breaking, but we can hear.
All right. Thank you so much. So all these issues are things that we really must talk about now. if you look at the reason why we are concerned about this whole subject is at the point where the rubber meets the road, somebody has to be able to jump off the cliff and take on opportunities, or take on assignments or responsibilities, or initiate something, or just engage with whatever they want to do. And in my opinion, it looks like at that point somebody has to be able to know how to take the risk. And if you look at most of the talked about indices about inclusion or the involvement of women, most of them are actually quantitative measures of how the numbers look like. For example, we talk about representation, we talk about inclusion, we talk about retention, we talk about the numbers of women that are able to ascend the corporate ladders, etc. All those are useful variables, useful indices, if you look at them from the outside. But somebody must be able to pose the question, what causes that to happen? What is the driving force behind those who are seemingly doing well? And what is it that causes those who are not doing well, who are actually the majority? What is it that holds them back? So one of the things that I think causes all this is what I call risk competence, or the ability to take risks. And this has been given different names. Some people have called it risk tolerance. Some people have called it risk initiative. I like calling it risk competence. I look at risk as I look at risk taking as the ability of somebody, the ability of somebody being able to think right, being able to calculate right, being able to act right. So it's actually a skill set, and it has a mindset to it, and it has a driving force behind it. So that when we talk about the risk-taking competencies, it's not just one thing. And it is something that I think can be learned, because if you pair women with people who are actually doing it, there seems to be some kind of positive influence, so that they tend to pick some kind of confidence, they tend to pick some kind of intelligence that allows them to become better in terms of risk taking and being able to manage risks. So if we are going to come up with intervention facing, then we must be able to understand how the internal forces are working, and we also must be able to appreciate the place of risk-taking and the importance of building risk-taking competencies among the women. Because if we don't do that, then we will continue to see the phenomenon where certain people seem to be lucky all the time. Certain people seem to be the one that opportunities are falling onto all the time, or certain people seem to be the ones that are being preferred. And the way the dynamics work is that people who have proven that they can do something will most likely be considered for future opportunities, and people who have never appeared on the platform, nobody knows about them, the chances that they are not going to be mentioned, they're not going to be considered, or they are not going to be among the people who are enjoying certain privileges is actually very, very high. And if we continue to talk about everything else and we forget to see what to do about internal preparation for the women, then we may never actually get to understand why things are not moving in the right direction. Because, in my opinion, if we push everything close to the door where women are, and we don't show them how to deploy themselves, how to jump onto the opportunities, or how to jump off the cliff, then nothing is going to happen. Because as long as the forces that are holding back are still as powerful as they are today, then it doesn't matter how beautiful the external environment looks like. Because that day in a webinar we had here, there's a lady who was talking, and she said something very powerful. She said that when you are given opportunities as a woman, you must actually qualify yourself for that, because being given is one thing, taking it up and appropriating that and converting it into value is a completely different thing. So today we get an opportunity to hear the voices of women who've had an opportunity to experience risk and have actually converted that into something positive, so that through their experiences, they can be able to demonstrate to us that it is okay, it is possible for women to take risks, that it is possible to get value out of risk, and that risk is not necessarily painful, or it doesn't necessarily result to loss or death. Because one of the misleading perceptions that has really persistent for so many years around the concept of risk, especially in this part of the world, many people associate risk with pain, many people associate it with loss, many people associate it with a lot of discomfort, and then we deny ourselves the opportunity to see the pleasurable side of risk, because in my opinion, risk has a pain side and it also has a pleasure side. So if we pay all the attention to the pain side of risk and we don't take a moment or two to appreciate the pleasurable side of risk or the positive side of it, then we will keep discounting ourselves and we'll keep knocking ourselves off things that we are supposed to engage, pay the price that must be paid, and then begin to reap the benefit that must be reaped out of that. So as I finish, I just want to welcome everybody in the audience to get ready for a very exciting conversation. And I know the ladies are ready. They have been preparing for this moment, and now they are here. They are actually coming up here with lessons from what they have learned, because it is good that we are using real life examples, real people who can actually speak authoritatively about this. And when it gets to that point, that's when I feel so disadvantaged, because I know risk as a man. I think about it as a man, and from the experience I've had, I know that risk is beneficial. So as I talk about this, I may be giving my perspective as a man, but I can authoritatively report that risk taking is a good thing. And I think it's one of the reasons that is keeping men ahead of the game, because men are very, very tolerant with risk. I know they lose sometimes and they feel the pain, but men will never stop taking the risk. So if ladies can learn from this, learn something from the experiences of men, that's a beautiful thing. But if they can learn it from the women who've actually discovered this secret and are working it out in their spaces and generating value for them, it's even much, much better, because it's easy to identify and connect with that perspective, and therefore be able to learn something. So the bottom line is we are of the opinion that if we get a lot more women to build the right appreciation, the right perspective around risk, and build the right competencies, both skill set, mindset, and even tool set around the concept of risk, then we are going to see a lot more women liberated from the chains of fear and the chains of overcalculation and the chains of self-disqualification or self-discounting, to a place where a lot more of them will begin to produce better results, more results, and even rise faster and experience better success than they have experienced so far. So I'll have to put a full stop at that point, then hand over the meeting back to Dottie, who will help us with navigating today's conversation. Thank you so very much, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dosso, for setting the tone for us. We appreciate you for joining us. We call him the he or she. And thank you for being the one behind this conversation. We appreciate that. So our conversation today is about the book, We Took the Risk, talking about the value of risk-taking and why women should embrace it, and even as a strategy for growth and success. So we are privileged today to have two of the co-authors of the book. This is an anthology done by 13 different women, sharing their stories from their leadership experiences and the matter risk-taking. Today we are privileged to have two of them, Eunice Ong'ele and Primrose Mukami. I will allow them some time just to introduce themselves so we get to know a little bit about them before we dive into the depth of our today's conversation. So I will first call Eunice Ong'ele. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself, even as we begin this conversation.
All right. Thank you, Dottie. Thank you, Radido, for this opportunity. As you heard, my name is Eunice Ong'ele. I am a professional in business development, marketing, and customer experience. So I can summarize it as a professional in sales and marketing with over 25 years of work experience. I'm also a mother of 3 lovely children. I am a wife, a friend to many. I've seen most of them here. Thank you, ladies, for joining. And a sister. So yes, in short, that's me. And I'm happy to be here, and I've enjoyed writing the book and cannot wait to have people read it.
Thank you, Eunice. We are so excited to have you and eager to hear more from you today. Primrose Mukami, please let us get to know who you are. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Dottie. I am Primrose, but people sometimes don't know how to pronounce it, so I go by Prim most of the time. I'm a human resource practitioner, and I have over 15 years of experience in various industries. And for me, the journey didn't start with HR. I started actually my academics. I never thought I'd land in HR, but here we are 15 years later. Apart from that, I'm someone who loves life. I look for fun things to do. I tell people I love life because it's not the YOLO kind of loving life, but there are some things I'll be averse to, but I just love life. I love nature. You'll find me doing nature walks or just traveling from place to place, especially if it's for sightseeing. And apart from that, I love anything that pumps up my adrenaline. I'll be in for it. And of late, I've found myself in a space where I think I can share now with this group and others, not just about risk taking. And I've just taken into mentorship of I'd call them young professionals or people who are trying to navigate their journeys between the universities and the work life, just trying myself putting myself as a bridge so that they are able just to transition well. That's how I give back, I'd say, to society. And yeah, I'm excited to be here, Dottie.
And we are equally excited to have you. You know, I'm one of the people, when I hear the word risk-taking, I get some little goosebumps, you know. I'm this person who really has to have everything well calculated for me to begin to embark on something. And so, you know, today I'm in here for a very exciting time just to learn and to find ways to navigate risk-taking in the manner that I should, for me to be able to achieve the best out of who I am and what I'm called to do. So as we delve into our conversation today, maybe I would begin by asking you, Eunice, as a woman, what is your perception of risk-taking?
As a woman, in most cases, we'll say that we are very risk averse, especially when it comes to the professional side. Most of us are, we start strong, and then in between there, we are bombarded with too many choices. You start your family, and challenges come in now. How do I start balancing the two? And in the process, you'll find that you tend to tilt on one side, and most cases will be now the family side, and you take less riskier roles per se. And when we check our male counterparts, on the other hand, the trajectory continuously grows. There's no stop at any particular time. And as years go by, you find that they perform better when it comes to growth on the professional side. Of course, as women, when it comes to the personal side, now that's very different depending on your background. But in most cases, you'll find that you're quite risk averse. Myself, I think, a mixture of both. In the beginning, sometimes you come across stuff. As I was writing the book, I would recall now some of the things that I did that I thought were just normal. But looking at them now, I see that some risks that I took then that have been able to open some of these doors that are being opened now. And what I would say is we can get caught up in what we are doing and sometimes not really see how that is going to benefit us later on in life. And sometimes also you can overestimate and decide that one will take me off this project that I'm doing, and then you decide you're not going to take it up. So very diverse. Women are very, very diverse. We come in very different shapes and sizes when it comes to risk taking. Yes.
Okay, so I've heard you say that sometimes we begin very strong, but along the way we begin to withdraw. So is it the complexities of the risk taking, or what? How does that come about? What do you feel is the reason we start so strong, but later on begin to withdraw?
Now, women, we are the nurturers. We're the ones who bring forth family. Basically, when we start after graduation, we start at the same line with the men, for lack of a better word. And as we are starting up, we are quite strong together. We are going until one time, the moment you get pregnant, for instance, and then the hormones check in and many other things check in when you're going through that nurturing space. And the men, on the other hand, you find that there is no stop, basically. They are continuing. I'll give you an example of a colleague of mine that I've been following up on, former colleague, actually. So when she joined our organization, they joined a couple of people. They were 4 of them. And as she was coming up, I remember she used to really talk to me when it comes to family. She found I'd already gotten a few kids, and she wanted to know how she can be able to navigate the space. And as she got married after a few years, I was still monitoring how she was going, and the male colleagues that she joined with were still going very well. Then she got pregnant. When she got pregnant, she had complications. So she started slowing down on some of the roles that she'd be given. She would request to be given slightly lighter roles, which was at that particular needed to be done. And the gentlemen, on the other hand, will raise their hands to take heavier jobs, to take roles that will take them out of town and things like that. The lady, on the other hand, could not go out of town because of the complexity of her situation that particular time. Then she managed to get her children. And unfortunately, when she came back again, she still had the nurturing bit. She needed to still continuously take care of the children. The gentlemen were still growing and growing. And after some time, when I looked at how the men were performing and how she was performing, relatively, she was better. She was quite agile before she got now the family way. And so when she took that break and stopped taking more challenging roles, of course, the gentleman came and some of them became her supervisor. And she didn't take it quite well then. She was quite depressed. Like, this person, I used to show them how to do the things. And I told her, sometimes the nature of a woman is you need to try and balance. I know the balance can be very, very challenging. I say it, but I know quite well that it's not quite easy to get a clear balance. But what I requested her is to have a partner to assist, because there's some areas where your partner can come in, especially after the baby has been born. There's some roles that you can be able to amicably agree on, so that you can be able to be given a chance to grow on the career side. So when I told her to really talk to the partner and have a bit of a consensus on how to take care of the children, luckily enough, she had one that understood and knew that she was very, very good at what she was doing. And in the process, she was now able to get more done. And of course, now was able to grow within the organization. Of course, the gentleman had grown, but it did not now stop her, because she was now able to juggle the two. I know Injanui normally talks about juggling a family, because she really did a lot of that when she was still formally employed. And she says that really getting a balance for women, we will be lying to ourselves that we can be able to balance it. It's more of juggling the two and see where else we can be able to help have help, and help can come in many ways. It can be taking leave without really explaining, because leave is a statutory requirement by the government. So balancing that off, you don't have to explain to your management where you're going to go if you need to do something very urgently. Using proper nannies, for instance, who can be able to help you in some ways, especially in the formative time when the children are coming up, they can be able to help with the homework and stuff like that. So I've been listening to her, and also when I do my mentorship, those are some of the things that I talk to the ladies who are coming up, like try and have a bit of juggling of the two. You'll not have a proper balance. Talk to your partner and ensure them that you'll still do your bit, of course, and just try and have a proper juggling pattern.
Wow, that's a beautiful story to learn from, and very insightful points there. Thank you for sharing. Now to you, Primrose. Beginning your chapter, I've had a look at your chapter, and at the beginning of your chapter, you quote Mark Zuckerberg. And this is the quote: "The biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that is changing quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risk." How has this influenced your decision-making on matters risk-taking?
Thank you, Dottie, for that. Let me first start by building on Eunice's point. And it's not about the roles we have as women. It is how we are cultured. We are cultured to take a back seat and, let the man lead. If you look at, even in schools right now, it's take a back seat, let the man lead. And at some point, I feel like, especially even the women at the workplace, they are lost on where to be. We've been cultured also that strong women are not necessarily good women. Something that I'm happy that the young generation is trying to demystify, to show that strong women also, people who can make their own choices, are okay. It's okay to make your own choice. Look at the stories out there about women who've made it in a very heavily patriarchal society. I'm not sure my son will know who Mekatilili is, and other women who fought for our freedom, but they will know who Dedan Kimathi is. So we don't have enough stories out there about women who've made it in very tough decisions. Now, why I went for that quote is because as a woman, as a human being, at any one point, you will find yourself at a crossroad. And if you know a crossroad, it has 4 pathways. And it's possible that all the 4 pathways will lead you to the same destination. It's also possible one of them might be a detour and might not lead you there. So as a person, what you need to do is, if you spend a lot of time being overthinking or being stuck at the center of that crossroad, that's where you'll be. All you need to do is evaluate all these pathways and see which is likely to get you to your destination or just near your destination. And at that point, then you make a decision and move. You have to move. The thing about risk-taking is most of us are normally stuck because you are evaluating all these choices. You're thinking, if this fails, what if this doesn't work out? You're being stuck, you're not moving. But once you have a very good evaluation, then it will be very clear what decision you need to make and you need to move. Now, as you're moving, one of the lessons that I've learned is very often when we get almost halfway our journey, we start getting the setbacks and obstacles. We look back. And once you look back, it's very easy for you to go back to the spot where you are and get stuck again. So you need to move. Try and see how you can jump over any obstacle and any hindrances that may come your way until you get where you want to be. So risk taking again is not easy. It's not something that you do. It's not something that once you made a decision, all your plans will fall, according to how you planned. But you need to plan for any setback that may come, so that as soon as it comes, you're not looking back. You're still continuing with your journey. You're moving. Yeah.
Thank you, Primrose, for great insights there. Eunice, one of the things you have talked about in your book, in your chapter, is answering the question, is risk-taking rewarding? That is a question you have answered. Would you slightly talk about that? Do not let the cat out of the bag, but I would want you to touch the surface of that question.
All right. Have you been in a situation whereby you've made a decision to do something, or to change something, or to move to a certain direction, and then you hear somebody whispering at the back that thing that you decided to do normally would not take anyone anywhere, meaning it's a deadbeat, for instance, a role. And whoever has gone to that area is either a failure or has been seen as a failure or is bound to fail. And here you are, you've said yes. How do you now move? How will it reward you? Will you fail? Will you jump over it? So that's a sneak peek about it. I'm welcoming people to come and read that chapter so that they can learn what is that thing that I did.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, and thank you for keeping it short. So this is a pre-launch conversation brought to us by Zion Pearl Publishers. We are talking about the book We Took, The Risk, which is set to be launched on the 30th of November at the Trademark Hotel. More details will be coming. So like I've said, we are coming to you from Zion Pearl Publishers. We can pre-order for the book. So if you look on the chat, you will find our contact. If you want to be part of the launch experience, you will find a registration form. We have a pre-order form. All this will be availed. Just be patient. You will have them all availed on the chat, so you can register to be part of the launch experience. The launch is coming up on the 30th of November. You can also pre-order for your book. As soon as they're ready, we can organize to have it delivered to you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, even as we continue with this conversation. We are in for a good time, risk-taking and women. I'm one of the students here today, and I hope to be better. I came in by the time I leave. So maybe Primrose, I would want you to help us understand, what would you say is the difference between a well-calculated risk-taking and something that feels so uncertain and reckless? What would be the difference?
That's a very good question, Dottie. And wherever you're faced with any sort of risk-taking, whenever you have to take a risk, because risk is about a decision that you have to make at the end of the day. So whenever you're faced with any decision you might have to make, there's something in the corporate world we call polarities. And so polarities is sometimes where you have, for example, at times 2 or 3 or more competing priorities. And at that point, you can only choose one. And for what has come out more and more is whenever you're faced in such a situation, you have to ask yourself, what can I compromise on and what do I need right now? So that you go for what is important at that moment and you compromise on the other, because you will always be faced in those situations. And when I now also look at this side on my personal life, sometimes it has been that way. You have to compromise, you have to choose something, and it would mean letting go of the other. So what I'd call a calculated risk is where you look at the situation that you are in and why you need to make that decision, because it's the outcome that leads you to the decision of picking or going ahead with the decision you've made. Once you have that outcome, it's again planning for any setback that will come. An example is, for example, you can decide, we've seen it very often, people leaving work and starting their own businesses. So what would make one leave now? What would make one decide, okay, let me build my business. Let me see how it performs before I leave work. And yeah, there are people who continue with it too. The gig economy is what is now coming out, and they're able to go with it too. So if someone is faced with those three choices, then how you go for one over the other, first of all, depends with the priorities you have, especially in your personal life, what your goals are with both the business or in your professional life. Are there maybe chances for you to grow? Or are you living now to grow yourself through this business? Do you have enough contacts, for example? In case the business doesn't thrive and now you have some finances to fill in, then what do you fall back on? So those are plans that should be in place before you take that decision, and knowing that these setbacks may come or may not. Um, the other one that we call just taking a decision is where maybe at one point you just have this bad manager who's always on your back, and you decide, you know what, employment is not for me anymore. So I need to quit and go start my own business, or even starting a business that is the same with your current employer, and you're thinking, now I'll even go and steal their clients, you know. So that one, it means you don't have plans, you don't have goals, you just made a decision, and we call it a bit of emotional decision. You just made a decision and went for it. You didn't really look at the factors that could come in that would affect that decision making. So as you're making any decision, which would encourage to go, my advice would be, yes, don't get stuck, but it doesn't mean you just make it and go. Please look at other factors that can affect the decision that you're making. Yes.
Thank you for that. So it's about taking into consideration all the factors involved. That will be considered a well-calculated risk. Unlike a hasty decision, you don't have a plan, you don't have anything, that will be a reckless kind of a risk-taking decision. Thank you for answering that. Eunice, back to you. Have you ever regretted taking a risk? And what lessons did you learn from your experience?
I did regret momentarily. I don't know that that makes sense. At the moment when I realized, oh, what have I just done? I was excelling in one role, doing quite well. And I thought now it was time for me to move. And the next move, I thought I calculated well. I thought it will be one of those roles that you move into, and you will still have the same support, the same zeal, the same, how do you call it, returns from it. Sometimes when you've done something for a long time, it becomes your second nature. It's very easy. It can become quite, very easy to do. Then when you go to the next one where you've never done, you're thinking you'll still go with the same trajectory, and then lower to you, things change. So yes, at the moment, that particular time, I thought, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. This is so hard. Can I quit? And you can't quit at that particular time. Sometimes when you're also thinking of quitting, you're looking at many things. What did my father say? You just quitted. What is that? You don't quit. And where am I going? What is plan B? So you kind of weather all that and you continue. So I realized that some of those that had the most challenging, did I make a proper decision here or did I just jump into it, are the most rewarding for me, I think for at the career level, that was the most rewarding in terms of the lessons that I learned, the quick diving that I had to do, the quick swimming that I had to do, because it was an area that had not been done by our organization. And I quickly had to learn so many things in a short span because I needed to deliver on it. So for me, that is what I'm looking at as the rewarding bit when I now saw what I was able to do quick with small growth in, it was not as big as what I had initially, but I was very proud of myself and I was able to launch new product in the market. Let me just give that as one of the examples. And when you see your baby growing as a mother, it's quite rewarding. Let me just put it as such. Yes, Dottie.
Thank you so much, Eunice. So you had an experience with that. And as we continue, there's a hand that is lifted up. This should be Mr. Dosso. Do you have something to say? Mr. Dosso, you're welcome.
Oh no, sorry. I'm just enjoying the conversation. I'm here taking my notes.
So your hand was up. You're enjoying the session and taking your notes. Thank you for being part of this conversation. We appreciate your presence, together with all the he's that are in here. If you're a man and you're joining us, we appreciate you. If you're all man, but you're very much appreciated. Now, to you, Primrose Mukami, I would want to know how risk-taking has impacted your leadership experience or your leadership journey. Are there areas of your life that you can look back and say, had I not taken this risk, then it would have not been possible for me to succeed as a leader? Please say something about that.
Yes. When I started, I just mentioned that HR found me. I didn't go to find HR. HR found me. My academic background was totally different. My career goals were different. And then I went to my first job, had the challenges that are there in the book. At one point, I was like, I'm done. And then it got to a place where now I was faced with what I described as a polarity. I had an opportunity to continue in HR or go back to a finance department, the background I had. And when I was faced with those two, I'd say, decisions, it would have been very easy for me to go back to finance. That was where my comfort zone was. But after talking to a lot of people, they urged me to push on to HR. And so along the way, I've come across, I'd say, very good people that I've worked with. Yes? Can you hear me?
I think we have
Can
lost you.
Oh,
Am I the
okay.
only one not hearing her?
We can hear her.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. Continue, please.
Okay. No worries, Dottie. So along the way, I met very good managers who urged me on, who encouraged me. And I remember one who was, I'd never forget their words. And for them, they were like, you overthink a lot of things. You have to make a decision. The first thing you're thinking is, what will my line manager do? If you're going to be a very good manager in future, you need to stop that. It's about making a decision and at the end of the day, learning from it. It's about starting and moving. You can get stuck on details, and sometimes that's what we do. We get stuck on details instead of starting and moving. You need to move along the way, learn the lessons. And the second time you're doing that same task, you will find yourself it being easier and you not making the same mistakes. It's about planning and moving. So for me now, based on that, I'd say decision making has now always been easy from then on. There are instances that I've applied for a job and you get 2, 3 offers. And all of them are different, maybe different jobs, different industries. And because of that advice and the planning bit, I've never found myself asking, which one do I go for? Or sometimes, even when I call a friend, even when I call my parents, even when I just, divulge that details, it's more from probably an affirmation point of view and not help me do this. So even as a leader at the workplace, sometimes I found myself going to my boss and telling them, this is what we do. I'm not asking them, can we do this? I just go with, this is what we'll do because of A, B, C, and D. That's what I'm trying to solve. So it's also about a kind of mindset shift about, it's not the question, it's the proposal that you're giving. You're not giving questions, you're proposing solutions.
Yes,
So
Primrose. Can you hear me?
yes, Dottie. I've seen you
Okay.
shaking her head, so I can tell I'm still audible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, if you're going to be a very great leader, propose solution. Don't be the leader who asks or seeks permission. At times, as a leader, you lead. You don't go to ask. Most of the time, especially if you ask for questions, you'll be told no. You go with, this is the solution I have, and this is the problem that I'm trying to solve. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Primrose, for that. I think there's a question that is coming for you. So I will let Mr. Doso ask this question. Mr. Doso, please go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Primrose. I like what you're talking about. Just from the point that you've just mentioned right now, you have mentioned 4 categories of people, and I want you to give them advice because what you've just said is very powerful. You talked about overthinkers. I think you consider yourself an overthinker. You've also talked about let me call them slow learners. From your statement, learn the lessons and go. So there are people who don't learn the lessons. So I want to call them slow learners or non-learners. You've also talked about people who get stuck on the details, and I think that's very close to perfectionists. These 4 groups of people have a syndrome that makes it a huge challenge for them to jump off the cliff and take risks. And now that you've been an overthinker and were advised by your boss and probably learned something out of that, what advice can you give to this kind of people, especially women, because we are specifically speaking to people, women folk, around how do they release themselves into the world of risk taking and benefit from that?
Thank you for that question. You must be speaking about the imposter syndrome, which we always suffer in one stage or season in our lives. We always suffer from the imposter syndrome, and it's about navigating it and getting out of it. And one of the places I had to start from was about, I had to be self-aware. I had to know who I was, and I had to know what my strengths were. Most of the time, there are things we know about ourselves and there are things we don't know that others know. So it had to start from a point of feedback. It had to start a lot from also now me reading a lot, researching a lot, and gaining all these skills to get to where I wanted to be. And so sometimes the imposter syndrome is what holds us back. You are in a role, for example, that at the workplace, I will speak a lot about the workplace because that's where I am. And you are an associate, for example, and there's a manager role. Maybe you've never managed a team. And at that point, you're looking at it and you're like, I'm not suitable for that role. That is your imposter syndrome just kicking it in, because you've not gone through and looked further into that role to see where do you fit in, what skills do you have, and what skills can you build on. And if it's about people skills, because there are a lot of books about leadership management skills, a lot to do about maybe performance management and how you lead teams. If you read all that, I can assure you, you will go into a panel, into an interview, and convince them that you're the right person for that role. So the imposter syndrome holds us back, because you're telling yourself, it's you telling yourself, I am not enough. I'm not at that level. I do not have these skills. They will not consider me. I cannot take this risk because I will fail. Instead of just moving and taking and learning as you go. So if you are always telling yourself, I can't do it, or this is too hard, how about you just try it and now learn the lessons through that try, start, go, move, try that job, apply for that job. You've seen someone you have a crush on, ask them out. What's the worst that can happen is that they'll tell you no, but you'll have learned, your lesson, and you'll have known, okay, maybe they're unavailable, I'll wait for the next person. They were not the right person for me at that moment. So go, move, go for what you want. Don't hold yourself back. Yeah.
Oh, that's so powerful. There's something you said which is very powerful. The I can't voice. I don't know how much of that voice women hear in their heads. Because that I can't voice, a bit of it comes from cultural conditioning. I don't like the way women are raised in our spaces. There are so many don't touch, don't do, you can't be that. So by the time somebody is getting to a place where they're supposed to be productive, there is a lot of noise, a lot of limiting voices telling them you can't, whatever, etc. A bit of that, of course, gets mixed up with the natural fear. I don't know how much fear women feel in the world, but I'm interested to know, because looks like the amount of fear men feel is not to be compared to the amount of fear that women feel. But I want you to give an advice to women concerning these two areas. The I can't voice, that which comes from inside, and the I can't that has come from the society, and then this fear thing that makes very many women to either overcalculate, overthink, or procrastinate a bit and push things to tomorrow that are supposed to be done today, or give away opportunities that are supposed to be their own.
Okay, it's a question to who?
Well, I'll let Primrose touch it, and then maybe Eunice can also address it as well.
Okay. You've also left one out though, and it's what will people think? And so it's, we've been cultured to you can't. It's not in your place. And it rings in your voice. Actually, call it like 80% is about how we've been cultured, 20% is about how you tell yourself. And this is where now women I can say, learn from these wonderful ladies who've come and, written about their stories in these books. They allow themselves to be vulnerable, just to give a thought about what they were feeling in each and every decision they had to make. Because looking back, we still had that we still had that noise. You're making a decision, but at the end of the day, you still have a noise telling you, but there's still that but. Um, for me, it's about looking at a decision from, it's not about how it can't work, but what if it works? Um, for most of the time, we look at it from what if it doesn't work? And this is where from, how will they take me? Uh, what will people say about me? That's what affects that at that point when you're making that decision, that's what affects you most. But I have learned to focus on what I want to get from the decision that I'm making. And now I kill the noise. I call it the noise. I kill the noise. And for me, it's about now me celebrating the small wins I get, however small it is, I will celebrate it. It's me celebrating myself. It's if other people celebrate me, well and good, but it has to start from me, the person. If I don't give myself those small graces, society will not. And so even when sometimes I've had a backlash over the decisions that I've made because I was okay with it, I really didn't feel the effect. I just let the noise be there because it will be there and for it to die down. So I celebrate myself, and that's where now the self-awareness comes. And I celebrate any small win. I look at what I wear, I want to be, and not if it works, sour. If it doesn't work, it's also okay, and I move on from that. I don't know what your experience could be with that, Eunice.
Now I'll give it in form of a story. When story is told of how children play, boys and girls. When you observe the girls playing, they will be playing games that everyone wins. For instance, chamama, whatever, where at the end of the day, we all want to be winners. Well, boys, on the other hand, they play games that one has to be the winner. So if it's running, I'll be the first one there. If it's they want to win, they want to be who's the winner in this thing. So we are culturally brought up with being demure, being limiting ourselves as ladies. And this is where now men come in. And I think when you get men sponsors to cheer you on, your antennas to take more risk and take more space as a lady begins at that particular time. If you have a father who is supportive and is pushing you and is not looking at you as another girl, but as my child, for instance. So we are all equals, the boys and girls. That again now makes the playing field be plain for everyone to excel in. And so for me, my experience growing up is I had a father who made that very clear. I was the firstborn of a couple of children, and being a firstborn, at one point I was able to do some decisions or be involved in some of the decisions in there. That already built a lot of character in me, and I was able to do some roles that ideally a lady would not be able to do within the family setup. Now, if you get a male sponsor to cheer you on as a girl, you kind of open that avenue of it's possible to actually do what the boys can also do. And I like the bit that you say that at this juncture, you when you have any small wins, you celebrate them. And so the male agenda is still very, very how would I call it? It's still very needed with the girl growing up, with the lady in the corporate space, to have somebody who can be able to cheer you on. As your sisters are cheering on, then these other persons are affirming that, you know what, you're doing very well there. So for me, the expectation that we are given as children from the children set up as you grow up, if we start breaking those boundaries and enabling children to be children, play whatever game you want to play. I'll give an example of my daughter when she was following a boy. And at one point, we're not by for her. the dolls, fine, she'll appreciate it, but she still wanted to play with, and this is a true story. I am not even bringing it from another perspective. I experienced it. So I would buy for her the dolls, should play with it, yes, but she still wanted what the brother had, because I think that is the cool toy perhaps she was seeing the brother is enjoying, taking it up and down. And so when I would buy toys, I'll buy the girly side and the boy side. And that girl, up to now, she's still very competitive in whatever she does. And I think that enabled her to think I can do anything. And I think if you can bring that in our children also, and even the girls, the ladies, when they join the workforce, encourage them that, you know, what these gentlemen can do, you can also be able to do, help them to know how to juggle the workspace, home, and the work environment, so that they can have a playing field to be able to grow. I think that is the best thing you can be able to do to a lady coming in. I'll give a last example. When I joined another organization, and I got my second child, and now we were now in the mothering stage where we need to do a few things. There was no room for the ladies to do their thing, so we'd go and express our milk in very interesting spaces. And when I asked the ladies who had children before me in that organization, of what did they used to do, they told me, but that's the rule, the room were allocated, a very dingy room. And I remember walking up to the HR lady and telling her that really I need to have a clean space to be able to do this thing. It's a child, I am preparing food for the child. I need to have a very serene place to do my thing. And believe you me, she was like, you know what, Eunice, I've never thought of it that way. She had her children slightly, she was much older, so maybe she also had a very interesting work environment then. So she never considered that. She was like, I never thought about that. And she gave us a room. So the subsequent ladies who now had children had a proper space to do their thing. So what am I saying? Is when you're seeing things are not going the right way in our environment, whether at home, whether in the workspace, we need to speak up. If you're a lady, you can be able to go to the authority and change some of those rules. Do that. You'll really, really open doors to so many ladies. And nowadays, when I hear guys go to that room, I'm very proud of myself. I don't need to tell them I'm the one who insisted we needed to have this, but they've created now the room is even bigger. It has seats. It's a very, very interesting place to be in. And those are the little things that you can also be able to do to ensure that the lady is, or the woman is felt in the workplace. So that's how I've been managing in that space. No, we can't hear you, Dottie. You're on silent.
Mr. Doe, do you have a further question to that? That was answering your question to both Primrose and Eunice Ong'ele.
Well, I have no further question. Thank you so much, ladies, for the rich responses.
Okay, so thank you so much, Eunice Ong'ele, for sharing. I'm also just coming to realize that sometimes failing to speak up is a fear of risk-taking. It is a form of fear of risk-taking. So speaking up is the risk-taking. You can speak, the outcome can be positive or negative. But when there is need, learning that I need to speak up. Thank you so much. I also wanted just to have your own experience, just like we've had from Primrose sharing how risk-taking has influenced her leadership role as a woman. What is your own experience, Eunice?
I've given one example of walking to a room and requesting for space as a woman in an organization. So for me now, even the people I work with, I'm more empathetic. I'm more empathetic, especially to the ladies. I lean more on that because I see myself. I see myself when I started. I see myself sometimes navigating areas that I wasn't sure of and taking myself back and stopping. And I also see myself overanalyzing. What you had said, Mukami, it's very, very true with women. We sometimes overanalyze, and as we overanalyze, we don't move. So I see a lot of that with with us women. And when I have an opportunity to correct it, I mentioned about this lady that I've been, and I don't know whether my colleague is in here, that I always ask. I left that organization a few years ago. I still ask, how is she doing? Has she moved? Has she gotten out of that funk, I call it, that she was in, whereby she was, sorry, let me cancel that. Yeah, and for me now, the mentorship space is where I've entered to be able to monitor both ladies and gentlemen. My focus mostly is on women's side because I understand the challenges. I have walked through that journey, and it's easy for me now to show them and share with them my experiences to be able to help them also grow. So that's how now my risk-taking adventures has helped me to shape the way I think around people, the way I take other risks as I grow. And I'm now more, how do you call it? What word was that? When you calculate, I'm more cultivated now. I think more now. I think as you grow older now, you are able to know exactly what you want. And I'm now very sure of which direction I want to go in. And that helps me now in removing any funk, for lack of a better word, in my head. I'm able to quickly think, can I take this direction? Do I stop? Do I still analyze it? Do I just go in? So yeah, those are the things that are helping me now shape my work environment, basically. Both the people I work with, up and down, I'm able to speak my mind, for lack of a better word, yeah. Dottie?
My
Can you hear me?
speaker has failed.
Okay, we can hear you now. We could hear you, Dottie. She's trying to find her space. Primrose, last time we met, we were talking about the physical meeting when we were talking about our weaknesses, and I think you're the one who brought up that story that sometimes the weaknesses that we think we have are actually our strengths. Sometimes you have this thing that you're very good at, but in your head you've converted it to weakness. Like for me, I am detail oriented. I'll walk into a space and I somehow arrange things in my head how things are supposed to be. And that has helped me do a few changes here and there. When it comes to us women, when we view our weaknesses, do you think it's something that limits us from doing what we need to do? How do we change our weakness? Because sometimes also we are told when we're doing our interviews, you concentrate on your strengths. Don't think of the weaknesses. And perhaps sometimes that weakness that you think is your weakness is actually your strength. So how do we convert our weakness that is a strength and to amplify it? Primos.
Thanks, Eunice.
That you took your role.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think for me, do I say it's unfortunate or it's fortunate that I had to come and realize that what was one of the things I thought was a great weakness for me was actually a strength. And people can read about that in the book. And so most of the time we really don't realize. We had a very good I'd call him a CEO of one of the organizations I worked with. And one of the tips he used to give managers was when you're talking to your direct reports, do you focus on strengths or weaknesses? Do you play more emphasis on their strengths or weaknesses? And most of the time, when I look at even the performance management, how we are, we do it to focus on the weaknesses more than the strengths, not realizing that when you really focus on someone's strengths, some that they may not even know, you are motivating them, you're boosting them up, and they want to continue shining, so that even when you end on, this is what I want you to improve on, they'll still hear it and they will be willing now to make it a strength for them because you're really focused on the strengths that they have. And so most of the time, yeah, as women, and because of that overthinking, we really tend to focus on the weaknesses that we have. If we look at the risks that we take, even as women, and as even the men I know, they take it. After college, you get a job. You move out from your home. At one point, you decide, I'm going to get married. At one point, you decide, I'm not going to travel through, to take a bus to go to a certain destination. I'm going to fly. Who tells you that aeroplane cannot, crash? It's being driven by a human pilot. It was made by a human as well. So when you look and take about and look at things, you take actually risks each and every day. But we still tend to downplay ourselves. So I think the best, even as you're focusing on the strengths that you have, there's a quote, I can't remember who actually said that quote, but it was about you have dreams, you have ideas, but unless you action on them, you can't have impact. So look at your strengths, look at how you can build into them, look at your life, look at, as you said, you're detail oriented. So it means if I need an event, if I have an event and I want someone to, arrange for it and coordinate it, probably you're the best person, even if you're not from that department that does that, because you will look into every detail, into the planning process, into the vendor screening, and ensuring that on the D-Day, everything falls into place. So even at home, how you play into your strengths and not weaknesses. How are you reading to build on even more of your strengths? Yes, you're good at communication, but do you stop there or do you build into it so that you even become better and better? Because landscapes change. What is required now for a certain skill might not be required of the same in 5 years down the line. Do you keep yourself, updated and upskilled? And even as I end this, I'll just end with, I'll call it like drop the mic on this. And I'd say, even as you're building onto your strengths, whenever you're faced with a decision, whenever you're faced with what do I do, whenever you're faced with I need to move, please choose to be optimistic. Whether it's a strength or weakness, choose to be optimistic in either way. Yeah. Eunice, I don't know if I've answered your question or you have anything to add on that. Oh, seems we lost Eunice.
Yeah, looks like we've lost Eunice as well, but I'm here. And I like the insights that you are sharing. And my opinion is that sometimes you learn risk by taking risk. If you listen to people's experiences and read the books without necessarily engaging the gear, sometimes you don't get it. It's like walking. We learn how to walk by just walking. You know how to balance yourself when you're walking certain ages, etc., because of engaging the walking experience. Now, as we get ready for the launch of this book, and I know this is a first of its kind because I've not seen a book before that has experiences of people who have been in the risk environment, sharing from their stories, etc. I know we've had stories and conversations around this, but for the first time, we get an opportunity to encounter a group of people who are all talking about risk. So what are you promising the people who are getting ready to join us during the launch? What kind of experience do you envision happening, or what do you promise that they are going to encounter when they come on the 30th of November at the Trademark Hotel?
The word that I see fitting into the kind of experience anyone who attends that event is, let me use words, not just word, it will be amazing and it will be life-changing. And this is because once I've interacted with these ladies, and I myself am learning from them as well, I thought, you get to learn from all these stories. You get to learn from the ladies, even one-on-one, And at that moment, this is a book that even has a contact that you can even ask, like, were you crazy when you're making this decision, after you read the story? For them to even give you the thought process that can help you to the decisions that you'll make in future or you'll be able to make in future. It will be amazing and it will be life-changing for anyone who attends. Yeah. You're on mute. You're on mute. Sorry, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry for that. I was just saying that it's our intention to make this an experience because, as I said earlier, risk is better understood and risk taking is better mastered through experience. So the people who are getting ready to come, I am hoping that when they come and get to have a physical contact and get to just listen and especially see the people who have taken risks and are still here, I hope that they're going to get something out of that. A bit about risk taking is actually centered around just having confidence in yourself that whether it goes right or it goes wrong, you can still maintain your cool. Because as we said earlier, it doesn't mean that when you take risk, you will all the time end up with positive results. Sometimes you jump in to learn a lesson so that next time you're showing up, you're more intelligent, you're more confident, you're more competent, you're more prepared, and you're better able to navigate the whole risk-taking situation. I don't know if Eunice is back in the call yet. I cannot be able to see her. So before she gets back, I want you to give us a sneak peek of what your three big lessons are in the chapter that you have written. I know you touched a number of points in your lesson, but what are the three main things that you really desire that whoever reads that chapter will walk away with?
The first one is I'd call it a journey of self-discovery, how
Yes.
I discovered who I was. The second one, because it's a sneak peek, so I'll just touch on the main points.
Yes, the main point.
Yes. The second one, someone will be able to get from a story is about the need for planning and planning ahead. And the third one is about now people celebrating their small wins. I feel like we always wait for something big and massive to happen before we can always celebrate ourselves. But it is important that you celebrate yourself for either something, whether it's big or small, so long as it's a win, you need to celebrate yourself because it's what keeps you going and going, even as you aim to get something big. Yeah.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. I would really want to know, when we reached out to you, it was all veiled. It looked like, people meeting virtually. It's just that. So what has been your experience so far? Because even this is a risk. As I said earlier, we had no prior knowledge of each other, no prior physical meeting or prior engagements. But here comes somebody or people reaching out to you and telling you this is the thing we're doing. And then without even too much hesitation, you're jumping onto it. And we are meeting much, much later to put faces behind voices and the names that we've been seeing online.
I think I was actually one of the people who, when you reached out to, was like, yes, let's do this. Without so many questions. I think the questions came back later, and I was like, wait, I'm supposed to write an article. Can I do this? And I was like,
Yes.
but I did composition in primary school. How hard is it to write? I've written reports before. How hard is it to write about myself? And
Yes.
now, as I started writing, I was just writing, and things just started flowing. And I've never actually thought about the things I've written until I finished. It's when I
Yes.
was thinking, wait a minute, you mean I've gone through all this?
Mm.
So for me, the important lesson with that is opportunities will come, and you need to
Yes.
jump at those opportunities, because you don't know when else they'll come. So jump at any opportunity that you get. Yeah, jump at it. It might never come again. There was a saying again in primary school, I've forgotten the saying, where some things only come once, and you
One.
never
Yes.
have that opportunity again. Yes. But yeah, when an opportunity comes, please go for it. Don't let anything hold you back. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I love that because I actually know that to be very true. Opportunities can never be reconstructed to their original shape and texture and color or even position. And sometimes some opportunities are very, very short-lived. It could be a minute or a second. You go back, you don't find it again. Somebody else has grabbed it. And of course, what complicates this whole matter is that we have so many other people who are interested in the kind of opportunities that we are interested in. So it's very important that somebody knows how to, within the split of a second, make a decision whether or not they're going to jump onto this. I can see Eunice. Eunice is back. Eunice, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. We were enjoying ourselves in your absence. The question I want to ask you is what experience do you I know we are going to have a book launch on the 30th of November, and I want to see if you have anything special that you have in store for the people who are coming to attend the launch in terms of the kind of experience that you are promising them. Because as I speak to you, there are a couple of people who are already registering for the launch, which is quite impressive. So what do you promise the people who are hoping to join us on the 30th of November?
Sorry, my computer decided to do what computers does when you're very busy. So what am I promising? I'm promising stories told in different angles, of ladies, very prominent ladies who have gone through journey of taking risks and have come through the other tunnel successful and are ready to hold hands and experience and share the experiences so that whoever is in that journey can take the learnings that they have gotten and get themselves unstuck. I know Primrose has talked about being stuck sometime and you have no idea what to do. So
Yeah.
these stories will help people to be able to see for themselves how the ladies navigated those very difficult situations and how they were able to now stand up and say, this is my story. There are stories that are very individualized. So every chapter is fresh and every chapter gives you a different perspective of how risk-taking has enabled people to grow. So very, very interesting space to come in and just learn. We are always learning, and it's another opportunity to just learn from pioneers, some of these areas that we are struggling in. So in short, those are the things you will experience when you come for the book launch.
I love that. I love your choice of words. You're even calling yourselves pioneers. Of course, you are pioneers because you have already got into into spaces. You may not be the very first people, but you are the very first people to come together and put it together in a book.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, we are writing history. Generations will come after us and they will see the kind of things we were doing in our time, which is quite something. I'm very, very happy that you took the risk to jump in. And before I come to the next question that I want to ask you, if you're in this meeting and you have questions that you may want to ask the ladies, we are going to open the floor. After I ask the last question that I'm about to ask Eunice, we'll open the floor for questions and comments from members of the audience. So if you feel like you want to ask it yourself, you raise up your hand, I'll pick on you and then give you an opportunity to speak. If you feel like you want to type it, you are free to type it in the chat box. And as soon as you drop it there, we will all see it. Then I'll just pick them out and direct them to the person that you want to ask. If you want the question to go to Eunice, let it just indicate there. If you want it to go to Prim, you can as well indicate that, and then I will get to you and give you an opportunity. I can see some hands are already going up. But before I pick on you, I'll just make another announcement. If you want to be part of the launch, you can also check the registration link on the chat box. And if you feel like you are ready to actually grab the book, the pre-order link is also there. You can just order your copy, and then we will attend to you as soon as we get your order. Before I open the floor to questions, Eunice, I have one question for you. You know, we reached out to you and we were strangers before the first conversation we had. And you know that it's very risky to just meet people online and you start talking business, exchanging numbers. I remember talking to you and I asked you, Eunice, are you not afraid sharing your number with strangers? I want you to share with us, what was your risk-taking experience when you encountered us and we made this proposal to you about this project we are doing and the fact that we are looking for insights from people like yourself? How was your experience with that risk and risky situation?
Yeah, very, very interesting question, because I remember you asking me that when I shared my number. So when you first reached out, it found that I'd already read another book done by a friend of mine. She also did one chapter there. And so when I saw your message, I quickly called her. So like I remember I reminded you that I gave you my number knowing that you've already worked with somebody. So you already tried and tested. So when I spoke to her, she really encouraged me and told me, Eunice, this is an opportunity for you to start writing. I belong to a book club and we read books from different people, and that was an aha moment for me to think, okay, all these things I've been reading, it's an opportunity for me to put something on paper. Of course, it was not very easy for me to start writing after I said yes, of course, as Primrose said. I sat with it, I'm like, okay, so I'm really going to expose myself here. So when you put yourself out there, it means that the world is going to read about you. They will have opinions about you. They will see you in different ways. And the thought of it was quite daunting, I wouldn't lie. But I said that this is my year of saying yeses, even when I'm afraid. I shall say the yes and then navigate that muddy water as we go, hoping to come out clean, lack of a better word. So yeah, so for me, that is what I saw. I saw it as an opportunity to be able to grow my writing skills. I'm not a very good writer, but I believe I've done something while being written, and maybe pick from that now and perhaps grow in other areas, have another book, or the sky is the limit. And taking the risk is the risk that we've taken as a group of ladies to put ourselves out there and tell our story, how we see it, how we see it going, and hopefully it will turn some lives for the better.
That's wonderful. I like your point about saying yes. Well, all I know about risk taking is that all risk takers are yes people. At some point, you have to say yes to this thing, whether you understand it or you don't understand it. You have to say yes to it before it can show you what is actually in there for you. So thank you so very much. I have a couple of questions from the audience. I can see a hand here from Janet. Janet, I will allow you to speak. Please unmute your microphone and ask your question. Then I will go to John Boyer. Janet, please unmute your microphone.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just have one burning question to Eunice and Primrose. How do you quantify risks that are not easily measurable? I just want to get your point of view from a personal level.
Well, that's a very beautiful question. Now you're going into the mechanics of risk. How do you quantify that, Eunice, then Primrose?
Yeah, that is, wow, a very challenging question. How do you quantify it? Because there is no metrics that basically you're going to plot and say this versus this will equal this. I think for me, I would say, what is it that you want to achieve at the end of it? What does success look like for you when you take that risk? How do you see yourself emerging out of it? And there'll be so many noises coming through. So how do you also filter this noise and focus? I think for me, the thing is focus, and you're the one to make a judgment whether that was qualifiable risk enough for you to put it as the risk was this level. There is no barometer that I can be able to use to say that. I think it's quite individualized. It'd be tricky for me to put a metrics out of it. But for me, I think individually, I would put it as what is that success? How does success look for at when you complete that mission that you are taking? How do you emerge, and do you feel that I have achieved something? So for me, when I succeed in that, whatever journey I've taken, and I come out still smelling like roses, then I'm like, yes, I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. But putting it on a measurable scale, it will be very hard for me to do that. I don't know about Primrose, whether you have a barometer or a gaugeometer or something that can measure.
Yes, Primrose. Let's hear if you have discovered a measuring scale that we can borrow from.
For me, I think the things we term as not quantifiable are actually quantifiable. Think about starting a business and you having losses, and you losing friends along the way, you losing trust in yourself. That's quantifiable. Any loss in your journey is quantifiable. And so for me, that's the importance of planning, because you are able now to say, these are the losses I'm willing to take, and past this, I'm not going further. I need to stop this and go back to the drawing board. So that is what is now quantifiable, apart from the wins, because the wins is the outcome, of course. As Eunice has said, what are you working at? But along the way, the losses you will get, you need to foresee them so that at the ceiling that you've put for yourself, once you reach there, you go back to the drawing board and now re-strategize. Yeah.
I like that. I like that so much because the point at which we lose when it comes to risk taking, in my opinion, is when we are not able to see the potential benefits. Most of us are able to see potential losses. I don't know why we are wired like that. Everybody knows, oh yeah, I'm likely to lose my money. I'm likely to lose my phone. I'm likely to lose my life. I'm likely to lose my marriage. I'm likely to lose my reputation. So many things we know we can lose. But very few of us are able to see the other side of, I'm likely to gain this, I'm likely to get that, I'm likely to learn, because sometimes all you get out of a risk experience is actually a lesson, not even a tangible thing. And sometimes better people are better because of the lessons that they have learned from the pains and the losses that they have experienced. So I agree with you, Prim. That's very powerful. There's a hand that has been up here for a while now. Joan Boyer, I will allow you now to ask your question. You can unmute your microphone and speak.
Hello, sorry, I'm on the road. I hope you can hear me, and it's just too noisy where I am. Okay, so my question is a bit on the corporate sector on risk taking when negotiating your compensation. You're in a role, you've done your job market study, and you realize that you're being paid less, and more so, you're being paid less than your male counterpart, and you want to now negotiate this with your employer. in a very professional manner without leaving people with bad tastes or bad feelings. How can one take this risk, maintaining professionalism, ensuring that you still have a job at the end of it, and still coming out a winner, that you don't, you still come out as a woman who actually fought for herself in a man's world? Just a few pointers for that. Thank you.
That's a very powerful question. I'll allow both of you to answer it because that's a good question. I love it. I love every side of it. So Eunice, you'll go first, and then Prim will speak after you.
I was hoping she goes fast. She is in HR, so she experienced more of these things than I do.
All right,
And she's
Primrose, you
seen.
can go fast.
Actually, Joanne, you're not alone. You don't know. Sometimes I go, okay, not sometimes, most of the times actually, 90% of the time when I'm having interviews and you're asking a candidate, what are your salary expectations? And most will tell you, I'll go with the budget of the organization. I'm like, but I'm not even disclosed that. So this comes from, again, self-awareness, especially if at understand when I am recruiting at an entry level, when a candidate start, but I get a bit concerned about someone who's leaving the organization, coming to the organization that I'm working for, and they have really no idea about the amount of money that they're likely to say yes to. This is because you're taking care, you're looking at all your bills that you have to pay. You're looking at, I'd say, all the other things that you want in life. You know, you want to go maybe for a holiday here and there, you have school fees, all that's bill. You want nice shoes, maybe you want to buy a car next year. So what salary would fall into that? And so this helps you to determine which organization you even be going for. And secondly, at what point does Primrose come and tell you, Joanne, my offer is 80,000. Well, what you wanted was 200,000. So if you want 200,000, don't be shy. Say it. This is a 200,000. This is what my expectation is. So that, again, you don't waste each other's time, you and the employer. You're chasing something, you're at the final interview, and then they tell you, oh, our offer was 80,000. That's not what you wanted. So know what you want. What do you want for your next role? Entry level, again, totally understand. I mean, for them, probably it's just the experience that they're looking into. But when you're more experienced, you know what you want. Can you please state it? If they're willing to pay you that, well and good. If they're not, then let them move on. Continue job hunting. That employer is coming. Yeah.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I like it that you're speaking about that from a HR background. So there's no lie in what you're saying. That's good truth from experience. Now that Prim is done, Eunice, is it okay if we come back to you?
So she's giving me words to play with. But I agree when it comes to negotiation, for the ladies, we are more likely not to state what we want and what we are worth. We are very afraid to say that this is what I want, as opposed to the other gender that already knows what their worth is. So for me, what you said, Primrose, is know your worth. And I think now there are many, how do you call it, parameters that you can be able to play with an Excel sheet and plot some of those numbers that you want to see and see where you're going to reach at. Putting all your eggs in that's the only time you can put all your eggs in one basket, and just calculate and see where do I want to land at. And then from that, you can be able to tell, this is where the bare minimum that I want from this employer. If I don't get this, then I continue searching. And again, as you said, it depends on the level of the entry. If it's entry level, of course, you don't know, so you go with what the organization is saying. But as you grow within your career, you can tell this industry pays around this much and this much. That can give you a gauge. And then also networking. I believe in the power of networking. when you network, you have a big array of people that you can ask questions. So things like now salary level, you can, if you want to go to the next level, you can now ask your networks at this level, normally what do people get ideally in this industry, that industry. So having a good network to professional network that you can just be able to tap into can also help you to gauge at what level you can be able to quote. So yeah, that is what I would say. And that is what I would also tell anybody who's now job searching. Go and talk to your people and see where they are. Men on the other side, I think they just quote sometime and they know what they want. That's the beauty about you, gentlemen. You know what you want and you quickly go for it. And in most cases, you find that, yeah, and they sit strong and they're able to negotiate and get what they want. Something also that we've been trained is how, again, do you present those figures when you are in an interview room? How do you position yourself? Do you own that number? Because if you go there trying to put your hand like this, then they'll see you're shaky. But when you really put it up, completely up, then they know that you're not joking. So how do you also present yourself in the interview room? And how do you voice out what you want in a very strong way that people know that this is their worth? And of course, they'll also judge from what you've been saying during the interview sessions. Are you really worth that amount? So even you need to know yourself, how are you measuring with the people at that level in terms of your presence also? Because sometimes you could be earning this and you want to earn there. So how do you push yourself to that level that you want to come in? Because at some time, it's not about the technical things that you know as you rise within the ranks. It's more of your human presence or your human skills. How are you able to influence the people who are in that meeting room or in that interview to see your worth, and how are you able to present that worth that you think you are? And that is a game changer. Yes.
Oh, that's so powerful. It's always a very, very delicate conversation to have, especially if you do not know what's on the other side of the card, which is actually the situation in most cases. But then, as you have correctly said, you know your worth, be confident in it, ask for what you're worth, and of course, be faithful enough to deliver value, because sometimes people get discovered after a while. People realize, oh, you ask for what you can't even match in terms of the value that you generate. So that's very powerful. We have one more hand lifted here. I will allow him to ask the question, then I'll go to the comments to read their comments that have been flashed in there. I'll read them immediately after George Loanya has asked this question. Mr. George, if you can unmute your microphone and ask your question. I'm sorry, you're muted. I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Mr. George. If you can attend to the sound.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Thank
Yes,
you very
sir.
much. I'd like to start by commending Eunice and Primrose on such a wonderful job. They are brave enough to step out of their comfort zones, to share their stories and their own perspective with us, to give us an inkling into their world, and to just share part of them with us. And you know, outside there, in this day and world, it's not easy for somebody to share part of them with you. So to my question, maybe I would start, if I look at the book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. What are their whys that drive them, right, to taking this risk, right, to stand up and be counted and say, this is what I want to do? And of course, your why is something that will drive you through stormy days, through challenges, because you are keeping your eye is on the prize. So sometimes most of us do things, but our whys don't drive us. So maybe I'd like to know, what is your why? Your why is something that keeps you alive every day, despite everything else that goes around you. So thank you, and back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. George, and it's good to see you here, because it takes boldness and risk-taking for you to show up in a conversation that is perceived to be a conversation about women and risk-taking. but we are glad to have you here. And thank you for your question, Eunice and Prim. What is the driving force behind your risk-taking endeavors? What is your why? And I like the way you have framed the question. Any of you can go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Thank you, George, for coming through. Thank you for joining us. So my why for taking the risk is to, I know success is very loose word to use, is to see how it ends. When I take this journey, how will it end? For me, it's how do I get to that? I told you I'm very detailed oriented. I see the bigger picture. And going back to what we mentioned earlier about our weaknesses, sometimes when you think that's your weakness, perhaps that is your main strength. I am very detail oriented. I see things until the end. So I can get into a room. Let me use a very simple analogy. I can get into a room and I can be able to move things around to suit a certain thing that I want. I can see it before even I put furnitures on it. So that's what drives me. I see the end, and that is my why. My end looks like that. So as I navigate this murky world, as I try to do whatever to succeed, my eyes are on that bigger picture. Where am I ending at? And that drives me. Of course, there are other people that I am working with. I'm working with my mentors. I'm working with some people who are coaching me and cheering me on. And sometimes also when people also see the best in you and tell you that that is where you need to go and that is where your why would be, they help you also see the grayness, because sometimes when you're looking through the glasses alone, you might not be able to see it very well. But when you articulate to somebody and share your thoughts, that is where I want to reach, and they can be able to also see that through, they're like your guardian angel, so they cheer you on as you go. So for me, that also is my why, when my people are aligned with me. So I'm able to navigate that very murky world. And sometimes it's also not murky. Sometimes it's just you were not able to make that decision and you quickly make it and you get it. I'll give you an example. Again, I love saying stories with and my experiences when I talk about my professional and career life. A few weeks ago, we went for a team building, and the people who know me know that I can't swim well. I can try, but I fear heights, completely fear heights. And when we went for the team building, some of the activities was to jump over a cliff, over a waterfall, and get into water. So those are two things that give me the heebie-jeebies. So when we were going through that journey, and I would tell my colleagues, in fact, I held one of my colleagues' hand when you're crossing the bridge because the water is so loud and the height is up there. And I thought, oh gosh, I'll not be able to do this. So when the activities started, I was the first one to put the life jacket on because I said, I am going to face this fear. I know I can't do this, but the guys also, like I said, there's some people cheer you on. So the coaches who were there really told us that you can do this. And when you get down into the water, there'll be somebody down there waiting for you. So my risk also like that. I take them knowing that even if I'm coming down, I have a battalion of people who are cheering me on, and they're able to hold me down there in case of anything. And believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, I jumped over. In fact, I'll share that on LinkedIn so that people can see. I did a lot of self-searching before I jumped. I went back and forth and I jumped in. And I came out, really swimming out. And here I am still saying the journey. So risk-taking has a lot to do with the mind also, what is your mind telling you? My mom normally says, go with your first thought. She's really strong into that. If my sister was here, she would put up big thumbs up. She's always telling us, go with that first thought. It's the sixth sense that God gave us for free, especially as women. And the more we ignore it, the more it goes away. So for me nowadays, I sit down and retrospective. That thing comes in very strong for me. Then there's a guiding angel telling me that is where you're supposed to focus on. So in short, that is it, Duso.
Well, thank you so very much, Eunice. I will just throw the same question to Prim. What is the why behind all these risk-taking things that you have been doing that brings you here today?
It's interesting. I don't know if George has already read the book, but Simon Sinek and the and starting with why has been quoted in my story. Um, the book was recommended when I was at that crossroads. So looks like it's a like-minded kind of. But when I decided now that HR would be my career, I wanted to be different. Um, there has been a stereotype of who HRs are, sometimes even how they look at like, and sometimes I've even had comments, you're not like the other HRs, and I'm like, Kwani, how do the other HRs look like? I mean, we are not twins. But it's because for me, I have always been driven about transforming workplaces and about giving employees a very nice experience for the time that they work in the organization I am in, sorry. And this means that I have to take deliberate steps every step of the way. Whatever decision I have to make, including the person I hire, it has to be very, very deliberate. So what really drives me? What is the why? I want to lead with intent. I want to lead with intent. Every time I want to be known as someone who acted with courage. And I wish you could all take that and act with courage in whatever spaces we are in, including even in our personal lives, acting with courage. And most importantly, I want to inspire other people to do this. So that is the why. That's why I take risks. That's why I do what I do. Yeah.
I like that. You want to be counted among the courageous, and you want to see fire under people. That's so good. There's another perfect statement that came from Eunice. Eunice just says, after all that, here we are. And that's the most beautiful bit of risk-taking. After everything is said and done, you will still be there to tell the story and to show people the medals and the lessons that you've learned from your experience. That is very, very powerful. So I'm going to pick some comments from the comment section here. I'll read them quickly. Some of them are actually questions. I'll just follow through the way they came in. There's a comment from Emma who says, powerful, powerful lessons from the stories of these lovely ladies. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Indeed. Let me see, this is hiding itself here. Indeed, this is a book to look forward to read, and a book launch event to attend. That's very powerful. Then there's a comment here from Dottie. Dottie is asking, what would be a worthy comeback plan? What would a worthy comeback plan look like if one has all risk calculations well done but still fails? That's a very important question. After you have done all that you can to make sure that you cushion yourself from the unwanted outcomes, but yet still find yourself with a failure, what would be the best comeback plan? I will allow each of you to attend to that question to see how you have dealt with it, and if you have a practical example from your experience, then that would be a very good thing to use. Maybe Eunice, you can go first.
Interesting question, because we can't all say that all the risk that you take will end up being successful. So what if you fail? We are told about failure generally and how to deal with failure. When you fail at whatever mission, how fast do you learn from it and how fast do you move on? Because if you dwell on that failure and really stay on it, those are the saboteurs that will come to your mind again and will make you not move on to the next. So how do you now quickly move? So to dust yourself, look at the learnings. For me, I think every failure is not a failure, it's an opportunity to learn. So what are those learnings that we got from that mission that we did and failed? And how can we be able to tweak it now for the next mission to succeed? Thing is, do not stay in that failure. Of course, experience it, because it's like a loss. When you have a loss, you need to experience that loss. Experience it, maybe give it time to sink in, but don't stay in for too long. because that will also paralyze you to move along. So experience, get your learnings out of it, and then take the next journey and quickly just go on. Sometimes some people tell you not to look behind, but sometimes that mirror behind in a vehicle has a reason why it's there. You need to also see what is behind you, but don't dwell on it, because now the bigger mirror or the dashboard is the biggest for you to be able to see the way forward. So focus on the way forward, and the learning is just that small mirror that you have that makes you look behind to see what is coming. But it's coming from behind you, so it's already done. So dust yourself and go.
Wow, thank you so much. What do you have to say, Prim?
Still the same way Eunice has said, don't stay mopping up for so long. But for me, what I'd do is I'd quickly go back to the dashboard and try and see in this plan, like what went wrong, why did it work? Because you need that now to craft a new plan very quickly so that you get yourself going. So don't be afraid of going back and rewriting this, because the end game is still the same, but it might have so many pathways to getting there. Go back, look at where you went wrong. You have to look at that before you can create another plan. Often also we go back and create another plan without having lessons learned from the first one to take into the second plan. So look at what you could have done wrong, the learnings you can get from that, what you'd have done differently, and then now create a new plan with all these lessons learned about where you want to go. Yeah. Don't get stuck in the semantics. Don't look at the failure. The failure might actually be what pushes you to where you want to be. Yeah.
That's very powerful. You all seem to be talking about the same thing. Pick your lessons, find out what didn't work. Don't take long down there complaining and moaning and groaning. Go and move forward. I mean, go do it again. And what I can add to that is if the strategy was wrong, then change the strategy. If the timing was wrong, change the timing. If you are wrong in terms of preparedness or the way you deploy yourself, change that. Pick the lesson, keep moving. And I think one of the bottom lines of being a risk taker and somebody who can share experiences from that is when you get knocked, you just pick up, get to learn and move. And that's the message that is being that's the common message from the responses that you've just given here. I can see Elsie or Windows hand is also up. I will allow you to ask your question before I go back to the comments. Elsie?
Thank you, and well done, Primrose. And I'm so proud of you, Eunice. You guys have done a fantastic job. Looking forward to getting a copy of this book. And thank you for the insights today. I just had one question, and this is just a culmination of everything that you've shared with us today. If you were each to take a time out and look back in your journey, what would you tell a 20-year-old Eunice now, or a 20-year-old Primrose now to do differently?
Oh, that's so powerful. What would you tell your younger selves, Eunice and Primrose?
Okay, I'll go faster then. What would I say? That it's okay. I think you shall experience life. You shall experience a lot of naysayers also on the way. There'll be a lot of noise around you that tells you that you will not be able to get there. You shall experience a lot of that. On the hindsight also, you shall experience people who are cheering you on, who are telling you go for it, who are telling you that the sky is the limit. I know that's a very interesting word, but for sure, you can be able to achieve what you put your mind into. So for me, my 20-year-old is, I know I was very laid back then. I was like, it's okay. Every journey takes a step. And the steps that you've taken throughout until this point, they've been calculated by God. For me, I believe in the divine intervention. Also, there are some things that I've done by myself, but I think there's a bigger power beyond me that has been guiding me. There's some places where I've done well, there's some places I've not done so well, but it's okay. It's part of the journey, it's part of my life, and I will still make many other failures. I'll still succeed in more of them, but at the end of it, it's okay. We're all human beings, and the journey, everyone has their own unique journey. My journey is not the same as the next person, is not the same as my sister, my brother, my son, my children, my friends. So everyone has their own journey, and your journey is very unique with you. So my journey from 20 years up to now has been authentically mine, and I'm grateful that I am at this juncture able to tell my story. So 20-year-old, it's okay. The life that you have started is taking a path that you needed to take. That is what I'll tell my 20-year-old.
Oh, thank you so very much, Eunice. We pass the microphone to you, Prim.
I think I'd advise my 20-year-old self to jump at opportunities, stop overthinking. I tell my 20-year-old self to be confident to be confident of myself or themselves. Let me address the 20-year-old. To be confident of themselves, to create goals that are self-driven or are about me, because we make plans about, I'll buy a car next year, I'll buy a house next year, I want to be a manager maybe in 5-6 years' time. But not so many people in January decide by the end of this year, I want to have learned this new skill. So learn as much as possible, because at that point, your mind is not on an overdrive about other things. So learn as many skills as possible. That failure is okay. It's okay to fail. It's what to do with that, or it's what to do afterwards that matters. And then, to move. I started, I think, moving in almost my 8th year in my career. But I think if I had moved from earlier on, I would have excelled at so many things. I would have met so many of my dreams. So move. Failure is okay. Learn as many skills as possible when you're young. And then I'd also now have mastered the art of risk-taking and calculated risk-taking, like take calculated risk and think about everything around the decision that I'm making before I make that decision. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so very much, Prim. If I spoke to my younger self, I know the question was not mine, but I will take the jump onto it and answer it as well. If I spoke to my younger self, I'll tell them to start early, because realize that the world is very lenient with people who are still children. You can make the mistakes as a child, you'll be forgiven. Some people will even support you for free, but when you wait until you're very old, oh my goodness, you'll be judged. So children are not judged, they are forgiven and supported. But when you wait until you're very old, people will be wondering, so what are you trying to do there? So if you are afraid of being judged, don't wait until it's too late. Start early, give yourself time to learn early, and then increase your chances of encountering more opportunities when you're still younger, so that you gain a lot more than than waiting. What can be done today, let it be done today. That's what I tell myself all the time. Thank you so very much for that question. I'll go back to the comment section. I can see very many people are reacting to the insights that are coming out of this, and loving what is being said here. Joanne Boyer said at some point she's feeling empowered, and she's congratulating you ladies for sharing your thoughts. There is also a comment from Donato Ong'ele who says, congratulations to Eunice and all authors on this achievement. Can't wait to get a copy of the book. She asked where the book can be found. I think that has been answered already. Another question here from George. George said, I am here to support a lady that I respect and cherish. She has a lot of inner strength and wisdom from her life experiences. I am part of her cheering squad. Thank you so much, George. And thanks for bringing the cheers into the meeting. You are a he for she. If you've never been told that, I hereby endorse you to be a he for she, because that's what we do. Olivia says, very inspiring and insightful session. Well done, Lady Eunice and Lady Primrose. Zisa Mutua says, so proud of you, ladies. Thanks for being vulnerable with us. Can't wait to read the book. Thank you so much, Zisa. I know you have seen the link there. You know where to get the book. Let me see if there's any other comment here. Elsie says, awesome stuff, ladies. Well done, and we'll definitely get a copy of this exciting book. Well, thank you so very much for all the comments and all the questions. This has been a very exciting conversation, and the contribution from the audience has been nothing but amazing. And this is what keeps that conversation going. You don't know how much encouragement that has sent into the hearts of these ladies. They now feel like, yeah, the stories were worth telling, because I know they questioned themselves at the beginning and were wondering, so who is going to read my story? Who will be inspired by this? But you can see that the stories that you have shared is already beginning to send waves of impact to the people that are listening. And that is quite encouraging. So we are beginning to get close to the close of the webinar today. And before we do that, I will just remind us that if you are interested in being part of the launch experience that we are going to be having on the 30th of November, you can use the link that has been shared with you in the chat box. If you're interested in placing an order of the book, then you can also use that link. And as soon as the books are out, you'll be contacted and the books will be delivered to you. We would love each and every one of you to get a copy of the book so that you can have something that you can use as a reference. And being that there are 13 voices inside there, actually 14 voices inside there, you will get an opportunity to hear insights from the 12 that are not part of this conversation today. But as it is, we have some more webinars coming up in the course of time of November, and you will be getting an opportunity to hear from each and every time, I think, and we'll have a new set of ladies joining us in the conversation. So if you'll have time, being a holiday, you will spare the time. 3 p.m. is the time you'll come and join us and be able to be part of that conversation. You will find the details about those webinars that are coming up on our LinkedIn page, Downpal Publishers. You go there, you'll find details about what we are planning and when we are hosting who until the day of the launch. As we bring this conversation to a close, I'll come back to you, ladies, and I want to give you an opportunity to once again invite your friends and invite anybody who's listening to us to the launch, and then give your very, very final remark about what people need to know about the value of risk-taking. So I'll start with you, Eunice, and then I'll go to Prim. So an opportunity for you to invite people again, and then give your final remark, and then I'll go to Prim.
Thank you, Doso. Before you close, I just want to give my thank you to all my friends. I've seen so many of them have joined here, and my family members, George, Olivia, thank you guys for supporting me. So for the launch, I am inviting everyone to come again to come and listen to now even more ladies, more stories on this very powerful topic of taking risk. It is a topic that is not only for women, it's a topic for even men. There are lessons that can be learned that cuts across all genders, and lessons that our younger us can be able to pick and grow, having been taken through the journeys of different people. And it's a term also for mentorship, for people to also get to be mentored. So bring your young people also to come and listen to us. And we promise you an afternoon of storytelling, basically. And Africans, as you know, as we can tell very good stories that have learnings. That's the beauty of the African told stories. Normally, there'll be an ending to it that will be meaningful to you and a learning that you can take back home. So welcome, everyone. There's a link that has been posted there. You can click on it. The people are within my circles. I have shared those links, so kindly join us for this major launch. Thank you.
It's been so nice having you here, and thanks for bringing your resourcefulness to the table. We have enjoyed your insights. Primrose, if you can unmute your microphone.
Okay. So I think to Zion Publishers, this is just nothing short of amazing. Creating a platform where people get to learn from others who've been there before them. And that's why I'd encourage anyone. You might be struggling in a certain area of your life. You might be struggling with decisions or decision making. You might be struggling with the idea of what do I do when I have done all I can and I'm not finding, I'm not getting to where I want to be. Come and hear from all these awesome ladies about how they've navigated that space before, and what you can do as a person. It's also to encourage, especially people who are parents, because risk-taking is all, you start inculcating risk-taking, or you're inculcated into it from a very young age. And so if you want to learn about how you can do that, even for the children that you're raising, how do I do this for my kids so that when they grow up, they're able to take risks, they're able to take on and make decisions very fast, then come and learn from all these awesome ladies. I am a co-author, but I think every story that I've read from my other co-authors, I'm also learning a thing or two from the same. And before I say goodbye, I'll just give this analogy of the baseball. And in baseball, when you don't strike, and striking is when you don't hit the ball when it's thrown at you, that's a strike, and you only have 3 strikes. Then you're dismissed. And one time I read, I can't remember if it was a book that I was reading, and there was a quote by someone called, I think it was Babe Ruth, and the quote was, never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. So at that point, then I'll end it there. Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. Yes.
Wow, thank you so very much, Primrose. We have enjoyed your insight. Of course, your parting shot is very powerful. I hope as many as have heard it or will hear it and be able to get by that. I want to thank everybody that has been example publishers. Thank you for your relentless effort making sure that this thing works. I also want to thank Dottie for all the effort she has made. I know technology has done you that thing, but we are glad you are able to be part of this and have helped us to fashion the first part of this conversation. Thank you to the ladies for sparing your time, for taking the risk and bringing your resourcefulness. You have taught us, you have inspired us, you have challenged us, and you've opened our eyes in ways that had not happened even as late as this morning. But today we are going back to our homes enlightened more than we were in the morning. So thank you so very much for those of you who also spared time to be part of this. I can see many of you are still here, and those of you who have participated in the conversation, asking questions, making comments, and coming on to cheer the ladies. We really, really appreciate you. My name is Doso Radido. I've been hosting this together with the amazing Dottie. I know she's not able to be visible right now, but she was there earlier on. I want to say thank you to all of you. Until we meet again another time, hopefully we see you again on Monday with another set of ladies. I pray that you all will be blessed. I'll request Emma, if you're in the meeting, I'll request you to do a final word before we pull it down for the today. Over to you, Emma, if you can hear me. Emma, if you unmute your mic.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Thank you, ladies, for being here and for inspiring each and every one of us. And thank you for this opportunity to giving me a chance to pray. Okay, so let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, for your protection through the night, through the day. Thank you for each and everything that you've done for us during this day, Heavenly Father. Thank you for bringing us together in this meeting, Heavenly Father, gotten from the wonderful ladies, Almighty King of Glory. Thank you for the inspirations that you have given unto them, Almighty King of Glory, the wisdom that they have been able to share with each and every one of us and learn, Almighty King of Glory. May we apply whatever they have taught us, Almighty Father, and may we cherish them and also be able to share them with other people, Almighty King of Glory. We thank you for this day, Almighty Father. We thank you for each and every person. We thank you for our lives and for the good health. Father, may you be their supply, Almighty King of Glory, wherever they are, Almighty Father. Take care of them together with their families and friends, Jehovah. We dedicate the rest of the activities of this evening, of this day, Almighty King of Glory, unto your able hands, Almighty Father. May your will be unto our lives, and may we glorify, take Almighty, be glorified in our thoughts, in our action, and each and everything that we do. It's in Jesus' name I do pray, trusting and believing. And everyone, let's say amen. We can all unmute and say amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. This conversation has been recorded. You can find it on YouTube. There's a channel there called the Zion Pearl Global Network. You can find the conversation there, and if you like, subscribe so that in case there's anything else coming up, of course, Monday you'll see another one. You can be able to listen in and be part of the experience. Thank you, everybody, and have yourself a good evening.
Thank you.